All right. And I'm going to ask that all questions be typed in the chat. Post-session, they will be compiled, answered, and distributed. If time permits, I'm going to answer a couple at the end. So our topics today we're going to talk about are provider selection, QSI, medications, and contacts. So the first topic we're going to talk about is provider selections. So I am inside of my consumer's record, and I know that because I see their name here with their iConnect ID, as well as on the top. I also see all these tabs below. So I'm going to go to the provider selection tab. A provider selection will be done by the regional office if you get a consumer after iConnect has been live, meaning you got them after December 4th. If you've had a consumer since before December 4th, you're going to have to add this for yourself. So if I want to add, save, or close anything in iConnect, I go to File, and I can click Add Provider. So I'm actually following a job aid that's found on our e-learning library. Caroline will show you where you can find that next week. So the first thing I need to select is my provider. Once I select that dropdown and I see that blue line, I can type. So I find my agency. If you're a solo and you don't have a doing business as name, you might have to search for your name, and it might be last name first. Just depends how you have it. Referral type is waiver support coordinator. Disposition. If you are adding this for yourself, you're going to select open, and that's very important. If you select WSC selected or WSC transfer in, you're going to get ticklers that you do not need to complete. WSC selected is the regional office will select that if you're the first WSC that is chosen after the consumer has been enrolled. WSC transfer in, the regional office will choose if you're the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth onward WSC that the consumer has selected since being enrolled. The provider worker, you need to make sure that's the WSC, so you. And then you're going to add a comment. So I'm just going to write the record is being created to provide WSC agency level access to the consumer's record. So file is my friend, and if I want to add, save, or close anything in iConnect, I go to File, and I can save and close provider. All right, so that's pretty quick how you add yourself as a provider selection so you can add notes and add forms in the consumer's record. So our next topic is going to be the QSI. We're going to talk about how to request, how to view it, and how to print it. So you request a QSI and we communicate in iConnect through the notes. So I'm going to go to the notes tab. I'm going to send a note to my clinical lead to ask for the QSI to be assigned. So I'm going to go to File, Add Notes. So this is the reason you had to add yourself as a provider selection. I've had peanut butter and jelly since before iConnect has been live, so I had to add myself. So now in that dropdown, I can select my agency. If you go to add a note and there is nothing in this dropdown, that means that you haven't added yourself yet. So I select my agency. My note type is going to be QSI. My subtype is going to be QSI request. The description is like the subject line of your email. So I would just write why you're asking for the QSI to be done. iConnect has spell check. The note is where you're going to put your details. And because we're using this note to communicate, we're going to change our status from draft to pending. If we send a complete note to someone, they cannot edit this note or reply to it. All right, so my status is pending. If you needed to add an attachment like a support plan or any documentation that's going to help the QSI assessor, you can add that, because remember, right now the support plan is not being done in iConnect yet. So the QSI assessor cannot find that for themselves within the Forms tab. All right, so I've added all the documentation I need to add. Now I need to send this to my clinical lead. So I see this gray line. If you see gray in iConnect, that means you cannot type. I'm going to click my ellipses. I put my cursor in the search text box and I look by last name. So my clinical lead is Linda Gruskin. That's only for my region. Other regions have different clinical leads. Once you find the person that you want to send it to, you just click them, the page will process. And now her name is here and she hasn't read it yet. So I can review my QSI request note, make sure I put everything I need to put in there and I'm sending it to someone and my status is pending so they can reply. If I want to save anything, I go to File and I can save and close notes. So now that I've sent the note, I need to wait for her reply. We find all our replies from our notes on our dashboard. So I go on my dashboard, and this might be a day later or a couple days later, depends. I see that I have a pending note. I can click to open it. And I can see that it's my consumer peanut butter and jelly, QSI request. I can click to open it up and see that the lead has said that she's assigned it to a QSI assessor. She added the QSI assessor below. Nothing else needs to happen within this note. If I needed to reply, I could type my reply and then append my text to note, but I really don't have to say anything else. So I can mark the note as complete. I can mark the note as read. So it clears it off my dashboard. I don't want this to stay on my dashboard. I've seen it and I don't need it to stay. Once I'm done, I can save and close. And now it's off my dashboard because I marked it as read. So now that I know that the QSI is assigned, the QSI assessor is working on it, they're going to also send the WSC some notes. So once they're scheduling the note, they're going to send you, once they're scheduling the QSI, they're going to send you a note that's saying, all right, we've scheduled it. Great. I want to clear this off my dashboard. Oh. And once the QSI is complete, they're going to send you another note. So now that I've been notified that the QSI is entered as a form in the consumer's record, I can go and I can find them within the record. All right, so now we're going to show you how to view the QSI. So my consumer's last name is Jelly. I can quick search them. The QSI is a form, so it's going to be held within the Forms tab. And here it is. Click anywhere on this white line to open it up. So to get the printable output that you guys are used to, you're going to hover over Reports and then click QSI Synopsis Report. And then if I scroll all the way down, here's the scores that you guys are used to seeing. So from within here, you guys can save it any way you want and then print it. So this is how you view it and you print the QSI. So I'm just going to quickly review everything we've done. I requested the QSI within the Notes tab. I was then notified that it was being worked on with it by notes by the QSI assessor. And then it was added as a form in the Forms tab. So now we're going to move on to our next topic, which is adding a medication. So what I'm going to do is just quickly show you a PowerPoint that we've created. And it goes through all of the field descriptions that you have when you're adding a medication. So the first field that you need to add is adding a medication is the dose. That's the total number of dose units of each medication the consumer is taking with each dose. So what I want to stress about the dose is that it's how much in number form the consumer is taking at one time. If a consumer takes a medication at 2 different times a day, for example, they take a 200 milligram tablet in the morning and then again a 200 milligram tablet at night, their dose is only 200. because they take it at one time. It's not 400. I'm not going to go through every one of the field descriptions because I want to spend more time actually showing you an example that I'm going to enter. So strength, that's how much of the dose unit is in a named measure of the dosage form. So it's basically how the consumer gets to their dose. So they take, to get to 200, you could take a 100 tablet, take 2 tablets. So they take 2 100 milligram tablets to get to the 200. Frequency, that's just how often they take it. Routes, pretty self-explanatory. Prescribed by, you're going to put the doctor that prescribed it, and then order date, the date that they ordered it. DC date, you're going to only enter this if the medication is discontinued. If the medication is not discontinued and the consumer is currently taking it, you're going to leave it blank. Status, it's going to default to pending, but if the consumer is currently taking it, it should be active. If the consumer gets a DC date and they're no longer taking it, you're going to go in and you're going to add that DC date and change it to discontinued. PRN, and this is actually involved in some field description changes that we've had since we went live in December. So PRN is a Latin acronym, which means as needed. You're going to check that box if the consumer only takes this medication as needed. So for example, like ibuprofen, if for pain only when back hurts. So note, when you check that PRN box, the parameter box is going to open up below and it's required. So let me tell you what parameters are. So parameters are the reason the medication is ordered, the maximum number of days that the medication should be given, the maximum number of doses per day, and the conditions under which the healthcare provider should be notified. So here's an example. Dulcolax 5 milligram tabs, give 3 tablets by mouth at bedtime. PRN if no bowel movement in 3 days. Give no more than 3 tabs per day. Call prescriber if no bowel movement after 24 hours. And this all should be on that prescription or the bottle. So instructions, that should also be on the prescription or the bottle. If you have a PRN medication and you kind of typed everything that there is to type about this medication and you need to type something because it's required, you can type no further instructions. Reason for medication, that's going to be like anxiety, depression, why are they taking it? Side effects / problems experienced. What I want to stress about this is that this is only the ones that your consumer has personally experienced. So if your consumer is taking a medication and they do not have any side effects with this medication, they're perfectly fine with it, you can write NA or none experienced. Don't just write what the possible side effects are that you Google or that are on the bottle. Only type what the consumer is actually experiencing. So type of assistance. Does a consumer need help taking medication? You're going to choose between one of these 3. If your consumer is in a group home, the group home will definitely know which one that you need to select. Medication assistance. How does someone help the consumer take their medication? An example is I need someone to give me my medication. And then our final field description, dispense times. You need to enter every single time the consumer takes this medication. So if the prescription says that the consumer needs to take it every morning after breakfast, you can add only 1 dispense time at 8 a.m. But if they need to take it every 6 hours, you need to add all 3 times. All right, so I'm actually going to go into iConnect now and add a medication. Okay, so I'm in my consumer's record still. And if I want to add a medication, I'm going to go to the medication tab. So before I add the medication, I just want to take some time to tell you the benefits of doing this now. If you add a medication in the future when your person-centered support plan is live, you can just press 1 button and it shoots all your medications right over into your support plan, which you have to add. So if you take the time now to add the medications your consumer's on, you're really just doing like some pre-support planning activities and you're really just helping yourself. All right, so I'm in the medications tab. Again, file's my friend. If I want to add anything, I got to go to file. I then click add medication. So right now you are going to see this banner, and basically the banner is just saying that if you search for a medication and you click it and then an error message pops up, it's okay. You just click okay and you kind of ignore it. For me, sometimes it doesn't pop up. So again, grade line, we cannot type. We have to click the dot, dot, dot. Once we do that, we're going to put our mouse within this search text box, and we can search by the medication name, or we can search by the code. It's up to you. The code should also be on the bottle as well. That might be easier. So the medication that I'm going to enter as my example today is lithium carbonate ER 300 milligram tablets, take 2 each morning by mouth. So I actually don't know my code, so I'm going to type the name of my medication. All right, so this is exactly what I need. Lithium carbonate, extended release, that's what the ER stands for, by mouth, and then 300 milligram tablet. So now that I've selected my medication, it's there in the gray. That is when the error message might pop up for you, but again, you're just gonna press okay and continue and pretend that it never happened. All right, so again, my dose, that's gonna be the amount that the consumer takes at one time. So my consumer takes 2 300 milligram tablets each morning. So that means that my dose is 600, because 2 times 300 is 600. My dose units is milligrams. My strength is 300 tablet, and we take 2 tablets. That's how we get to that 600 dose. How much in one and how many we take. Frequency, I'm going to take it 1 time every day. So it's daily. These are all your options. So you would select the one that's applicable to your medication. Route, my consumer takes it orally. Prescribed by, you just type the doctor's name. Order date, you're gonna change it if you need to. DC date, my consumer is currently taking this, I'm leaving that blank. As prescribed, you just choose yes or no. So status, it defaults to pending. Please do not leave it as pending. To me, that looks like you're still working on it. So my consumer is currently taking it, so I'm leaving it as active. If this was a PRN medication, I would check that box. Once I check that box, this appears, and if you notice, there's a red asterisk, meaning it's required. So you have to put something within there. And the parameters should also be with the prescription. Instructions per label. Take after a meal with a full glass of water in the morning. Reason for medication. Bipolar disorder. Side effects experienced. My consumer takes this medication and they personally have not experienced a single side effect, so I can just type NA. Where obtained. You're going to choose either prescription or over the counter. Mail order, either yes or no. No. And then packaging, just what it comes in. Type of assistance. So how does your consumer take their medication? Do they self-administer with assistance? Do they need medication administered, or do they self-administer without assistance, meaning they can do it by themselves? I'm going to say needs medications administered. So now we're going to get more detailed. Medication assistance. How do they get that assistance? So I'm going to choose, I need someone to give me my medication. You would choose the one that is applicable for your consumer. There is also non-applicable. All right, so my final field, my dispense time. My consumer only takes this medication one time a day, so I only need to enter one dispense time. They take it in the morning after breakfast, so I'm going to choose 8 a.m. So before I save, I can go and I can review to make sure everything is correct and it looks just like my prescription or my pill bottle. And once I'm done, I can go to File, Save, and Close. I do want to mention that if you have like a vitamin or something that iConnect, a medication that iConnect does not have, you can type search for other, and then an additional box will show up, or you can just type out your medication. All right, so I'm done. I can go to File, Save and Close Medication. You can, if you want to add a whole bunch, save and add another. Now that I've saved it, here it is, and then in the future, I could just shoot it right into my support plan. All right, so I see that I'm getting a lot of questions. Don't worry, if I have time at the end, I'm going to answer them. If not, I'm just going to send the answers out in an email, so they will get answered. So our last thing that we're going to do is add a contact. Just like the medications, this is really important to add now because you have to add this in your support plan, so might as well add it now so you can just shoot a button and bring it right over into your support plan. So if I want to add a contact, I go to the Contacts tab. I can go to File, Add New Contact, Search. So the reason it's called Search and not just Add New Contact is because in ABC we had a duplication issue. So in order to add someone into iConnect, we have to search first to make sure that they're not already there or they don't already exist. So my person's contact name is Billy Bob. I've typed in their first and last name, and I'm going to search for them. And it looks like Billy Bob already exists, so let me change my name. Billy Rod. All right, I added him yesterday. So I have now searched for my person's father. That's his name, Billy Rod. I searched, and now that I've searched, there's 0 records returned. I can click Add New. Add New button is hidden until you search. So there's actually not a lot that is required within the contact field because sometimes we don't know absolutely everything about our consumer's contacts. So primary relationship, that is the first one that's required. That's where you're going to choose the primary relationship this consumer has to your, this person has to your consumer. So I said mine's the father, so I'm going to choose parent. The reason that we have this additional spot to choose more relationships is sometimes people are more than one thing. A drop down, you can only choose one thing, but with these multi-select, we can choose as many as we need to and just shoot them over. So yeah, my Billy Rod is his father, but he's also part of his circle of supports. He may also be his client advocate. What if he's also a lawyer? He could also be his attorney. You can choose as many as you need to, and there's a lot to choose from. Comments, you can add comments if you needed to. And then below is where we're going to add his demographic information, like where he lives. Now I've selected my city. Everything else should pre-populate. If I ever needed to change an address, I want to clear everything. These are all connected. So if you need to change an address, make sure you clear everything. Maybe I don't know his email. I can leave that blank because there's no required field, but I do know his cell phone number. All right, perfect. So I've selected everything that I know about Mr. Billy Rod. Once I'm done, I can file, save, and close. So again, now it's here. Just like the medications, these two things can be shot right into the person-centered support plan form. So it looks like I have about 5 minutes. I'm gonna take a look at some of these notes. Oh, I thought I had questions. Maybe we don't.
Rebecca, I can see the questions.
Oh, okay, because I don't see any.
Okay. Do you want me to find the questions from a specific section? Most of your questions were coming from the medication section.
Okay, yeah. Just
Okay.
start, might as well answer as many as we can.
Okay, sure. So I'll just start from the top. On date is prescribed, several of my consumers have been taking medications for years and I don't know the actual date it was prescribed. What should I do?
Okay. What I probably would put is maybe they have to have a prescription somewhere, maybe the oldest prescription date, because it has to keep getting refilled. So maybe the oldest refill date. As long as you try your best, I think that's good. Because yeah, some of them do take medications for a very, very, very long time. I would just put the oldest refill date you have.
Okay, and then to continue with that, what should they do if they find out the prescription was prescribed what if they find out after they got the prescription? Does that make sense?
What if they find out what after the prescription?
Like, what if they find out about the prescription after it was prescribed?
Oh, that's okay. Just once you find out, go and enter it. Because you can backdate the order date.
Okay, so what if the caregiver doesn't have the order date? Would that also be just putting in the most current date you have?
Yes, I believe that's what we should be doing, is putting
That's
the oldest.
correct.
Okay, good. I was going to say we should probably get state office to confirm that, but okay. Thank you.
What about if the medication isn't canceled, but it was only prescribed for 14 days?
Okay. Then I honestly, what I would do is the DC date, I would put the order date, the date they started it, and then the DC date, the date that they stopped taking it.
But you wouldn't want to change the status to discontinued until after those 14 days.
And we do that here.
Okay, so I'm going to move to one of the other sections.
Okay.
So the first section, when you were talking about the QSI, we have a question: why would we print the QSI?
Oh, I've just had some WSCs ask me that. You don't really have to, because what's nice about iConnect is that it's always here. You don't have to print it. That is the beauty of iConnect, but some WSCs do want to have it. Maybe they have to send it to the group home because the group homes don't have access yet. So maybe that's probably my only guess.
It actually is to be able to print the synopsis report to give to the consumer or the legal representative.
Oh, thank you, Sheila.
Okay, and I'll just do one more question since we are at that 12:30 time. How will WSCs know who to send the QSI requests to?
Well, in my region, we send it to our clinical lead. What we probably should do is Sheila, can we make like a list? We can ask everyone, just like we did for the intake, and we could probably send a list out, right?
Yeah, let us consult with our clinical work stream as well as our waiver work stream to make sure that we standardize this statewide, because as you said, Rebecca, in your region, it's done a certain way. And with the intent of iConnect, we do want to standardize it. And it may end up being that you send it to your liaison and it gets, filtered from there. But let us check with those folks in state office and the regions to make sure we get you a standardized response.
Okay, and I'm just going to address the numerous questions of if this will be recorded and where can you find the materials. Yes, this call and next week's call are recording. So as those videos become available, we will post them so you can come back and refer to this. any of the materials that Rebecca showed today or what you'll see next week, those will become available to you as well. And they will most likely be on the e-learning library. I don't expect them to be posted anywhere else. So I would suggest over the next couple weeks to start checking that e-learning library and looking at any of the new materials we start putting up there. But I do want to say thank you for joining us today. It was really great having everyone on the call, and I hope it was informative and answered some of those questions. But please come back next week. Again, we will have next week's be a full hour to make up for the technical issues that we had last week. So make sure you make those adjustments in your schedule so that you can join us for the whole hour. Rebecca or Sheila, do any of you want to say anything before we sign off?
I don't have anything to add other than just like you said, Elizabeth, I'm very appreciative that waiver support coordinators joined us today. I hope this information has been helpful. We certainly want to make sure that we're giving you the information that you need because we are getting ready to move towards our next rollout, and some of these basic things, we want them to feel like second nature to you.
Thank you, Sheila. If any questions come up between now and next week, feel free to send them to me, Elizabeth, or to the iConnect email box, and we will try to address them. So thank you all for joining and have a wonderful afternoon.